Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. The translation of that message, it reads like this. Hello, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? I am a Zimbabwean woman and I am currently staying here in the United Kingdom. And I want to confess that even though I had been here in the UK for a very long time, when I returned back to Zim to participate in an ancestral ceremony, it was a ceremony where we would be bringing in the spirit of my grandmother, who was once a famous traditional healer. When we grew up, like my parents, they did not want to be part of those rituals because my grandmother, she was said to participate in dark occultic magic as well. The way that she used to assist other people is by using the spirits of the dead. So she never wanted to participate in such a thing. And my mom was the one who would stop my father from doing things that were quite evil like that, because my father, he loved ancestral worship. But after he had met my mother, then my mother brought him to Christ. So we grew up as Christians, and I had never participated in ancestral worship before. But when you are here in the United Kingdom, things are quite different. You will start to miss home. You will start to think about your ancestors, the things that your ancestors used to do when they were alive. I guess I was feeling really lonely by the time that my husband passed away, so much lonely that I kept on thinking about all the ancestral worship that people were doing back home in Zim. And then I returned back to Zimbabwe after reconnecting with my relatives. This was against the wishes of my mother, because when we came to the United Kingdom, my parents, they stopped communicating with all of our relatives, saying that they were too much into ancestral worship. And we do come from a village there in Wedza, and I did not know that my grandmother was a witch as well, because when I returned back to my country in Zimbabwe, that was when a spirit located me and it possessed me during one ceremony which was done throughout the night. We had been drinking traditional healer as well as other people were playing the traditional instruments. So I got into a state of a trance. And after I had gotten into that state of a trance, that was when I saw my grandmother rising up out of her grave. And then she said she was there to protect me, to walk with me, for she was the one who had given me her blessings. She had given me her blessings. And even us being in Europe, it was because of her spirit that had unlocked all those doors for my parents to end up being in Europe. She showed me so many visions of the other people that were my relatives that I never knew, and they were in a land that was filled with peace. I wanted to go there, and she told me that when my time here on earth was up, then she will come and collect me, and she will go with me to that land. So that is how I became a witch. I started to have several dreams when I returned back to the UK. Ever since that time, in 2017 until now, I have had 6 people die of the same disease of cancer at my workplace as well as my neighborhood. And most of the people that are here, they are less spiritual. They don't believe in things of the spirit. And the funny part about it, when I was still growing up, since we came here to the UK, when I was still very young, I never believed in witchcraft, and I never thought that I will have such spiritual encounters. My parents, when they left with us, they made sure that we will never get involved in those type of things. They always said that people in the villages, because they never went to school, and the reason as to why they were afraid of the spirits, it was because they were living in a world without science and logic. And for a long time, I thought that it was true. I had also escaped my roots where people were so backward in their thinking that witchcraft is for real. until when I was all grown up. And then my family, when I started to communicate with them, it was during that time in 2017 when they told me that I was needed for, there was a ceremony that was going to be done. And during that ceremony, we were supposed to return the spirit of my grandmother back into the homestead. To me, it was a nice thing to become part with the family. When I arrived there was one of my auntie, who I will call Auntie Mavis. She kept on staring at me as if she knew something about me that I did not understand. And then there was a time when we were gathered around a large fire. That was when she called me to her bedroom. When I went with her to her bedroom, that was when I saw that inside her bedroom there was a big clay pot, and she said that I needed to drink from that clay pot. And when I drank from the clay pot, it tasted like blood. But when I looked, I saw that it was not blood, but it was water. I fell fast asleep, and then that was when I started to see shadowy figures. I woke up, it was somewhere around 1 a.m. at that time. The way that people were dancing, they were caught up in a trance. My auntie somehow, she knew that I was now awake. She came back to her bedroom where she had left me and took me to this other mud kitchen where the whole family was gathered around the people that were beating the traditional drums as well as playing the traditional instruments. I felt the music, the rhythm in my blood, and then I started dancing. As I was dancing, that was when I saw a shadowy figure that was standing in the forest, at the edge of the forest, and then it kept on walking and walking and walking until it came so close, and then I saw that it was my grandmother. Somehow I felt that it was her. She then said, "It is done, my child. You are now one of us." Even though I felt cold, and she said, "You have inherited my power, and now you are going to do the work that I used to do when I was still alive." When I returned back to the UK, life seemed normal at first. Went back to work, back to my friends, back to my usual routine. But then whenever I would get angry, like the people around me, they would suffer. If you would insult me, if I insulted you back, and then you would suffer. The first person who died without me even realizing that I had bewitched her and she had passed away was my colleague, whom I will call Sarah, and she had been arguing with me for a very long period of time. 1 month later, she was diagnosed with aggressive cancer. She died within 3 months. Then it was my neighbor. He had once slept with me. We thought that since his wife had passed away and my husband had also passed away, we could do something together. He only slept with me once, and I had a grudge because after sleeping with me, then he started dating another woman, even though he had said that he was in love with me. And I said, this guy, he only used me. A few months later, after I had cursed him, he was rude to me over the phone, complaining that I should stop pestering him. He also died from cancer. I thought that maybe it was a coincidence, but then more people died. There was a woman at my church, a security guard who was also from Zim at my workplace, a friend's boyfriend. They all died from cancer. All the people who had upset me in some way had passed away. I started to realize the truth that I was the one who was causing everything, and I had become a witch. I tried to stop. Believe you me, I tried to stop. I even asked one of my relatives who is also a witch, she is my auntie's daughter, about the things that were happening to me, and then she informed me that later on I am supposed to become a traditional healer, for the spirit of my grandmother is now possessing me, and I'm not just any normal woman. And she said you can go to church, but even if you go to church, you need to know and to keep it in your heart that you are not a normal woman anymore, but you are like your own grandmother who was a traditional healer. She registered a SIM card for me, which I am using now. So most of the people that I speak with, that I train to become witches, to cast spells. They think that maybe I am a lady who is in Zim, yet I am in the UK. I do have WhatsApp groups where I teach people how to use evil charms. That is my own confession. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our sister, and that was the translation. She was saying that she has a WhatsApp group where she trains people how to perform witchcraft and how to do curses. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. It is not a good thing to have the desire to become a witch.